Eric Kane, Austin Price, Matt Ray here on the Postgame Mini Pod. Tennessee loses in heartbreaking fashion to Georgia in overtime, 44-41. I think my biggest takeaway, Austin, when I left postgame pressers, it's one of those to where I'm going to use the word heartbreaking. I already did. Like it could be heartbreaking to where like you were so far behind and you came back, it just ran out of juice there at the end, didn't have quite enough. Or it could be heartbreaking in the fact that you won this game 3 or 4 different times and you just didn't finish. And I think that is what describes this game. Tennessee could have won this game 4 or 5 different times. Max Gilbert missing the kick in the regulation, I understand that's the one everyone's going to remember. But there were several other situations, 4th and 7, 2-point conversion, getting that turnover late in the fourth quarter and running the football 3 times, settling for a field goal. I mean, there's a lot of things we can point to where Tennessee screwed this up for itself, Austin. And you can't help Georgia. Georgia's a good enough team, and Georgia was able to, and again, I use this all offseason, and I think they literally did it here tonight. Georgia stole this game away from Tennessee.
They did. Hubbs said it best on the 2-minute drill. Tennessee's past moral victories. As he said, we lived that decade, and as I said, that decade sucked. But you're right. To me, this is a loss as a collective effort. It's on Josh Heupel and Joey Halzle for getting conservative, and let's give Halzle and Heupel credit. I thought this was the best play calling, the best rhythm in the offense in the last couple of years. I thought it was fantastic. I thought the offense looked great. Joey obviously had a really nice day. It's on Max Gilbert. He was nervous and just Vanderjack that thing dead right. It's on Tim Banks for 4th and 7.
Yep.
Your true freshman corner got picked on, and Gunnar Stockton made a heck of a throw. So again, it's not just one person. And you're right. It's heart wrenching. It's gutting. And as I said on the 2-minute drill, good for Tennessee that they don't have to try to get back up off the mat next week against somebody that matters. They can kind of dust themselves off against UAB and get ready for a trip to Starkville, coming up in a couple of weeks. So we'll see where Tennessee goes from here. But you have to like some of the stuff they did. Tennessee had not scored more than 17 points against Kirby Smart.
Hadn't thrown a touchdown since 2021, and he threw 4.
4, and ran for 1 himself.
Yeah.
They scored 38 in regulation. They scored 41 for the game. Offensively, they 4 for 400 yards of offense. They did what they needed to do to win the football game. It just didn't happen. Again, a collective effort in the loss. And multiple people, are to blame. But it's gut wrenching for fans. It's gut wrenching for the team. But you look at the national reaction to this. Instant classic. Both those teams are playoff teams. That's good. Remember that if Tennessee takes care of business later in the year. But Tennessee's got to go and take care of business. They can only afford one more loss at this point. You have to get 10-2, in my opinion. 9-3 is not getting you to the playoff. You've got to get to 10-2. You're only allowed one more hiccup.
A couple of things that stood out to me about the defensive effort. I don't think it was the best defensive effort, Matt. The 4th and 7, Stockton made a play. It is what it is. You had a chance to win that, you didn't. 2-point conversion, stop it. You win the game, didn't. It is what it is. But I will say this, man. Unlike last year, Tim Banks mixed it up. He blitzed the crap out of those guys. Blitzed on that play. Tennessee just didn't make enough plays. And I thought the Leos, whether it was Caleb Herring, Joshua Joseph, Jordan Ross, I thought they played a hell of a game.
Yeah, they played their.
I thought linebackers were not good. I thought corners were okay. I thought Hood made some plays. Of course, they picked on Redmond. But overall, as the group, man, Banks mixed it up, and he brought pressure all night long. They just didn't make enough plays.
I don't know how it looked from up here. I thought the holding call on Colton Hood, where they threw the jump ball down there to
it was both
Colby
ways.
Young, I thought that was pretty ticky-tacky. I thought Colton Hood played a good football game, though. I thought Caleb Herring made a huge jump tonight. I think he played his best football game as a Vol, and I thought Josh Josephs made some money in that fourth quarter. He lined up against Monroe Freeling a couple times, and he bullied him. Tennessee made plays to be in position to win it down the stretch. Georgia made more plays to win it. You don't want to look at silver linings. It's a tough loss, and Hubbs is right. You're past the point of moral victories.
Mm-hmm.
I said this last week. Offensively, I felt like during the Josh Heupel era, we've seen receivers make a jump in year 2 of being in the program. Thought we saw more of that on display today. I thought Staley played a good game. I thought Mike Matthews had some good plays, and then I mean, Chris
I'll say
man.
this, Matt, man, like, and I'm not trying to like talk down on him or anything, but like when we're having the receiver conversation, Chris Brazel's the last one out of my mouth because I like Mike Matthews and I think Braylon Staley's great. Brazel, man, he got away with the push off.
Yep.
Being more physical. You can tell he is a completely different player when he's got some confidence going, and that was him tonight.
Well, he's got confidence going.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell, like, walking off, he kind of looked around like, man, my big game was kind of wasted. We lost, you know.
Yeah.
This watching him to start the season feels like watching the guy that you thought Tennessee was going to get last year. When you watch what he did at Tulane and you watch how productive he was in different spots, I mean, it feels like his second-year jump has been significant, and that's what Tennessee needs. And, you know, I think the biggest takeaway for me is you learn some stuff about this football team tonight, even in the loss. They were down on the mat. They could have chose to keep laying there. They got back up, and they fought. I mean, they had no business, in my opinion, being up going into the fourth quarter. I mean, they from the first quarter on, it just felt like they were dominated for 30 more minutes. And then all of a sudden, they're up going into the fourth quarter and had a chance to put it away and didn't.
You mentioned real quick. You mentioned one of the Colton Hood PI call or the holding call. I thought the Andre Turrentine pass interference call in the second half was about as bush league as I've ever seen. That was the softest call I think I've ever seen in my life. But on that note about the offense, and I was kind of back and forth there in the second half. Again, Austin, for the upteenth time, the start couldn't be any better. The first quarter couldn't be any better. Well, maybe the 45-yard play on play number 1 for Georgia could have been better for Tennessee, but the start couldn't be better. Tennessee held a 2-touchdown lead in the first quarter. Then the second quarter came. Tennessee was outscored 10-0. Tennessee was outgained like 150 to like 38, whatever. Tennessee, you had Joey Aguilar that started 14 of 14 for whatever it was, and then he went 2 for 7 for 16 yards after that before he got going up again. I mean, what happened in the second quarter for Tennessee to get in this hole?
Well, he missed a couple of throws, threw behind. He had a couple of guys that were open, and he threw behind them, and he just kind of got out of rhythm, and Georgia kept the ball away a little bit. Tennessee kind of got into a little bit of a funk, as you said, and again, if you said going into the game, you're going to have a game-winning field goal attempt at the end. If you said going into the game, quarterback's going to throw 4 touchdowns, throw for near 400 yards, also run a touchdown, you'd have taken that every time.
Oh, yeah.
You scored 17 points. It's the most you scored in the 4 years previous against Kirby for Josh Heupel. Like, everything's set up for you to win this game. Tennessee's got to get healthy. They've got to get healthy. Defensively, they need Jackson Moy. Defensively, they need David Hobbs. Defensively, they need Jermon McCoy to come back. Now, is he? I don't know. We'll see. I know we saw him out there and working and all that stuff, but we'll see kind of what happens because you got a lot of other external factors in this deal, and so again, I think the competitor in him he'll come back, but don't be surprised if there's not agents and those type of things in people's ears and trying to get him to hold off and wait and this and that. So I mean, I think the biggest thing is like they've got to get healthy on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the middle. After Tennessee was gutted to begin the second half on that opening drive.
Again, 14 plays, 75 yards. They ran it 13 of the 14 plays.
Yeah, I want you to listen to the runs after that for Georgia. 3, 0, 1, 1, 15, 5, 5, 3, -2, 5, sack for -4, 0, 0, 2, and 1. Now that's before overtime. Okay. When
they have a long run overtime, yeah.
Nate Frazier decided to break off a 21-yarder that basically ended the game. So Tennessee after that defended it pretty well, but they need those guys back. They need more bodies. I mean, listen, I like Ethan Utley a lot. Ethan Utley's going to be a great player. Ethan Utley's still a freshman. He's like 270 pounds. Yep. So, I mean, he's got to get bigger and more physical. And, again, that's going to take an offseason in the weight room to do those type things. They've got to continue to build on what they did tonight. But, they're getting closer. I get we're talking about no moral victories and all that stuff. But when you look at where they've been against this team,
Yeah.
like I kept on to my daughter, and she's like, "Why do you don't believe in Tennessee?" And I'm like, "It's not about that, honey. Like, it's about the fact that this is the one team that's kind of been the kryptonite for Josh Heupel. Offensively, they have done nothing against Kirby Smart. Tonight they did. Tonight, did it not make you feel like 2022? Like just the guys running open and making plays and like
I think I saw a stat, and don't quote me, but Tennessee had 3 passing touchdowns of 70 yards or more last year. Tennessee already has 2 in the first 3 games this year. Like the explosive plays. Had a 50-something to Mike Matthews last week, had a 50-something to Chris Brazzell again in this game. So, yeah, to your point, I think it's very much reminiscent of 2022. They need those guys to get healthy back up on the defensive line. I thought Dominic Bailey had a good game. I'm intrigued to go back and watch film, but he and Eason look so tired. I'm willing to bet they played 60 snaps.
Yeah, I would wager to bet that they did too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think sometimes, man, I also talked about Ethan Utley, and like you said, he's 270 pounds. Like, he's going to be a really good football player here over time. There's some guys that are young that were in there are going to continue to be really good football players, but Tennessee missed some bigger bodies, and this Georgia offensive line found some success just by being bigger human beings at times. Just was what it was. But overall, if you're Tennessee, I mean, you still have a lot to take away from this game. You have so much to take away from this game, things to fine tune, guys that are going to come back, Moy, Holmes, play some football for you along the way that's going to be meaningful. You're going to need those guys. You got a really good chance to get up off the map pretty easily against UAB, fine-tune things, and then you got to go to Starkville and you got to take care of business.
I don't want to act like it's not any less frustrating because I know it is. But to your point, you have so much more to take away. Like, I remember walking away from these Georgia games in years past, and
you felt like they were light years away because they were.
Yeah, it's like, man, they couldn't run the football. They couldn't. I mean, they got shut out in the second half. They couldn't do anything off script. And I mean, hell, Tennessee was on the mat several times and got back up and fought. And I thought that was just such a key.
There was so much of this game that felt like 22 Alabama. Mm-hmm. I mean, just like how it was back and forth, and every time you felt like, okay, there's the straw that broke the camel's back, against Tennessee. They would fight back and they would score, and then there at the end, there they were driving towards that same goalpost.
Yep.
Well, the same end of the field, not the same goalpost. That's somewhere else. But driving towards that same end of the field, and they kept like picking up big runs. It was some big runs by Tennessee's running backs on that drive, got them into that position. And
thank God Tennessee fans stepped up and donated money to buy that new goalpost because Tennessee couldn't afford it.
Correct.
But nonetheless, we can go on and on and on. We'll continue to do this. We're going to have tons of reaction pieces. I just think, Matt, my biggest takeaway, and I said at the beginning, I think Tennessee screwed Tennessee up. Tennessee had this game won, and I recognize Georgia fought back, and Tennessee was on the mat a couple of times. To Tennessee's credit, it picked itself up, it found ways to win, and it lost this game 3 or 4 times. It's frustrating. However, where do you go from here? You can learn from this. You can move on. To Austin's point, expansion, college football playoff expansion. This season is far from over. Like this loss a couple of years ago, or in the old days, your season was done, right?
Yep.
You're playing for a Sugar Bowl. Now, you're not. So what do you do from this? How do you learn from this? I thought Aguilar was so much fun. His 2 interceptions, one was because Braylon slipped. The second one was a punt.
Yep.
Whatever. He certainly was off sometimes. I told Brent, I was wrapping this up, and I'll get into this point real quick. I told Brent on the walk up here, Matt, like, this is the Aguilar that I thought Tennessee was going to get. A dude that's going to be capable of making plays, going to throw it up there, and sometimes it's like, bro, what the hell are you doing? Like what are you doing?
Well, the 2 interceptions. One was a jump ball. And last week
we just talked about that.
Last week was I know, but I mean, like last week was like you made that throw because the throw you made last week.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Staley fell down. So I mean, like I don't really count. Although the safety was there, but Staley probably at least gets in the way where it's not picked. It would probably just been defended.
But there were not many. But there were like maybe 2 or 3 throws today where it's just kind of like.
But it should be. You're playing against the top perennial top 10 defense.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Which is great news because guess what? They're not all going to be athletic like that.
Yeah.
Mississippi State ain't going to have that defense. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure Alabama has that defense. Again, those are games tougher. Those are on the road. Yeah. But like I think if you're Joey Aguilar, you come out here going, wait a minute, I threw for near 400. Now I did throw 2 picks, But I threw for 4 touchdowns and 5 total, and threw near 400 yards against them.
And that's what I'm saying. Coming into the year, you take more interceptions if you get that.
Yeah, you do.
Holy crap, right? You take the
You do.
turnovers if you get that. And
I mean, my biggest takeaways from this, and again, we're not talking moral victories, but your offense looked the way it was supposed to look. It made plays down the field, vertically attacking. It's really hard to run the football against Georgia. Tennessee's going to run the football more productively against other teams. I feel pretty confident in saying that. They have every year that Josh Heupel's been here. Secondly, they can get after the passer. We learned even more about that tonight. They've got multiple guys that can get after the quarterback. Josh Josephs, Caleb Herring, I've already talked about. Those are 2 big takeaways to be a team that's going to have a chance if you take care of business, don't drop any that you shouldn't. To have another chance to be in the playoffs.
You have to avoid the Arkansas game from a year ago.
Yeah.
Like when you play, and to me, it's really just Mississippi State. I don't think about them losing in Lexington one bit.
Oh,
not 1%. Not 1%. But in Starkville, weird game. They're going to wear the white jerseys in honor of something, and I'm sure that game will end up being a night game. Yeah, those stupid ass cowbells. But like Eric, we were at Knox West Thursday night, and there were like 4 people doing cowbells, and I was like, it's going to be times 57,000 here in about 2 weeks.
Also, and we got to go for my phone.
We do got to go. I got to call Steve Wolf on.
I'll say this. We found out a little bit about that running back rotation now as well. We'll continue to talk about all this, but I mean, they believe in Star Thomas, they believe in Sean Bishop, Peyton Lewis, they believe in him, but only 5 carries here tonight. All right, that's going to do it here for this post-game mini-pod. We got plenty of reaction coming up again over on the General's Quarters front page, Volquest.com. These guys have a ton of recruiting information out there, and we're going to get it over to you right now over at Volquest. You got something, AP?
No.
Okay. All right. I thought you were pointing out a stat here.
No.
I appreciate you guys for being here. I know tonight sucks. We'll see what Tennessee does from here. 44-41 overtime loss. Tennessee falls to Georgia. This is Volquest.com.